Hey, welcome to Pastor Chat. We're so glad you're here. I'm here with Pastor Linn and Lisa, and we're going to hijack today, and we are going to talk about how Cornerstone Church started. So Pastor Linn and Lisa, we're celebrating 25 years as a church.
Yeah.
Yes.
You've been here for all of those 25 years.
Yeah.
Some of us have only been here a few years or 10 years maybe. We thought it would be cool today just to kind of pause our normal pastor chats and talk about how Cornerstone started and what that story is. So many people come to this church and maybe they attend one of our campuses and check their kids in, but they don't know what all of this is. They don't know where it came from. They don't know the stories of how God has moved over the years. So let's take a few minutes and talk about that. First question for Pastor Linn is this. What was it about starting a church? Why did you start a church? What did God do in your life that really took you to that moment that you decided to do this?
Yeah, so, we keep saying 25 years, and nowadays starting churches is pretty common, but if you go back 25 years, it wasn't. Matter of fact, church planting really took off about 22 years ago, so I was 3 years too early. And to be honest with you, I really didn't want to plant a church. I was hoping to go to an established church and be a pastor there. And when the idea was first posed to me, it actually felt like a demotion. I was saying, hey, I've been in ministry 17 years. They've been really exciting, thriving ministries. Surely somebody would hire me. Why would I have to start from scratch? Right. And in the midst of that, God just really wrecked me. He really twisted me up. And so I can honestly say coming and planting Cornerstone was an act of real surrender. Wow. On our part. Lisa and I had to go out like missionaries and raise our support, and it wasn't enough. We lived on $24,000 a year. We had no insurance. We lived in my mom's downstairs for the first probably 12 months, and we were full grown.
With a son.
With a son who was 9, yeah.
Wow.
So every bit of it originally felt like demotion. In our lives. And I say that only because when you look at it today and see what God has done to honor that and in response to it, I think that applies to so much of our lives. There's moments when you think, hey, God, it feels like you're taking me a step back, when what God is actually doing is taking you a step over to where he's then going to bless you.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Well, and what an interesting, to look back.
Oh.
And you guys you have honored God's faithfulness. You've displayed a faithful God in how you've served. And that's just been incredible just to see how God has worked. Lisa, tell us, what did it look like to actually plant? What was that first week or those first months like? What did it look like when Cornerstone first started?
Wow, it was so scary. First, we were blessed because we were able to gather together 26 people who were willing to take a risk with us.
Including children.
Including children.
You count everybody when you're that small in
Yeah,
the church,
you
right?
do. We were counting, dogs and
Yes.
infants and everything, yeah.
Oh, yes, and the count's always very accurate because you can't miss anyone. But we were just really blessed to find people who wanted to step out in faith, and that's what it was for them as well. And to do this with us, we met in a clubhouse from April, I believe it's April 14th until our launch date on September 10th. And so we met every single week and we did a Bible study and we just cast vision and we talked about what it would look like to start a church and to change our community. Then our very first Sunday, which was September 10th, we met at Las Brisas Elementary School with 328 people.
Wow.
Praise God, it was amazing.
Wow.
And it was just the coolest time ever.
Okay, so tell them what the room was like, though.
Yes, it was a cafetorium is what they called it.
Those are
so
awesome.
They took the benches from the tables and they fold down into seats. And
it smelled like a cafeteria.
It smelled just like a cafeteria.
Leftover cheeseburger smell or whatever.
Spilt milk. It was nasty.
It was, and we were trying to reach young families in our community and just whoever. Chandler was so new at that time. Intel hadn't even been there very long.
Oh, wow.
And so it was just so different. I remember I was trying to find people. I was pulling whoever I could find to work in the nursery, and I got 2 great people to say, hey, will you work in the nursery? I'm sure we're gonna have babies. We ended up with 17 babies the very first Sunday. Oh my goodness, I had 2 people. I was going and asking people in the audience I didn't even know. They just had to look trustworthy. Would you please come and hold a baby? But what a blessing that was.
Those first few weeks, it was crazy because we were going quicker and we thought, so we were literally meeting people and we'd say, hey, have you attended church before? If they said yes, we'd say, would you go teach children?
Throw them in, man.
If they said no, we'd say, would you be a greeter? You know, and I mean, so literally we were recruiting everybody who showed up to help.
Wow.
It was crazy.
That's crazy.
People were very generous and they were excited because there wasn't anything like Cornerstone around at that time. And it was so cool.
What an incredible,
So
I
cool.
mean, just to think like from 26 people to
Yeah.
300 people
Yeah.
to, I mean, 11, 12, 13,000 people every weekend watching online right now.
Yeah.
Right.
And multiple campuses and how God has worked even internationally through this church. Like, Lynn, when did you know something was going to be special about Cornerstone?
You know, I think it happened probably within the first 2 years. We started seeing people who had been disenfranchised from church, people at some point maybe they'd attended and they'd just given up on God, and they were coming in and just lighting up and being transformed. And people maybe who'd been religious in the past were figuring out a relationship with Jesus and getting saved. And then we were watching people who had been really stagnant in their faith, and all of a sudden their faith was coming alive and they were growing like crazy. And honestly, we sat around in those early staff meetings and we looked at each other and we said, you know what, there's a lot of talent in this room, but our talent all heaped together doesn't even come close to what's happening every Sunday. And so you knew God was showing up Sunday after Sunday for us.
It's incredible. Well, we appreciate you guys and we love you so much. And I know everyone watching is so thankful for this church and how God has just put his favor upon you two and upon Cornerstone. And all honor to God, but we're so thankful for you guys and how you've been used by God. And so thank you for tuning in. We hope you'll stay engaged through this series. We have 7 more weeks as we walk through the values that have guided this church and guided us as followers of Christ. And we're looking forward to how it's going to transform our life. Thanks for tuning in.